Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Malia. If you are new, if you are not new, hi, welcome back. Today is Plant Diaries. Today we're going to be talking about my personal plant schedule because I do have a lot of plants. I'll put the total on the screen because I'm not going to count them all because they are a bit scattered right now. But that's how many plants I have, and they all do kind of operate on a different schedule. This schedule didn't really, this wasn't a planned schedule. I just follow the schedule of my plants, and they kind of worked themselves into the schedule. So I'm going to be talking about my plants that need less watering today. As you can see, I have a bunch of plants sitting behind me. All these plants are going to get watered today because they are all very thirsty. So let's talk about them individually. And what their care is like. And so first off, we're going to talk about this alocasia. This is my first alocasia I've ever had. This alocasia I got around my birthday time, so I've had this for over a month now, and this plant I'm going to say has not really thrived in my care while it's been in my care. It came with 3 leaves, and now there's literally 1. So it killed off 2 of them. I'm not sure if it's just because it's the dormant season, it's cold outside, so this plant is just not necessarily thriving, but something about my environment it doesn't like. I did wake up one day and this leaf was completely slanted forward, so I did have to add this pole for support. So we're gonna see how this plant does. I hope it stays alive because it is a really beautiful plant. This leaf is really beautiful, has a really pretty shape to it. I really enjoy looking at this plant. This plant's name is Mordecai from Regular Show. That's how I named it, but this one is going to get watered today. This one is on a very irregular schedule. I kind of just check the soil. I do let this one dry out a good amount before it gets watered again. This one does have fungus gnats, so I actually am going to treat some of my plants for fungus gnats today. So this one is going to get some hydrogen peroxide on it because I did just see a fungus gnat fly out of it, but this one hasn't been watered for a while, so this one is going to get some water. My ponytail palm, I need to cut some of these off. This plant's name is Venus. I just chose it because it literally looks like it's from Plant Venus. I've never seen a plant like this before until I started getting into plants. So I've had it for a little while. It was in really poor health for a little bit because I was overwatering it, but now that I've got it to a really good schedule, I'm watering it a lot less. I water this plant maybe once every 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks. This one you can tell it's a little bit dry. It needs some water. It's brown crispy on some of the edges, but I just need to chop this one up. It needs to get some of these longer pieces gone and just looking more full. So yeah, I'm gonna prune this and trim this up before we water it, but that's one of the plant chores that I need to do for this plant is cut it up. This one does not need to be treated for fungus gnats, thankfully, because I don't water it as much as I do the other plants. But yeah, this one needs to be watered. Dracaena, a fragrant Dracaena, and this is one of my favorite plants. This one is very thirsty. You can see some of the brown tips. I haven't watered this plant in over maybe 2.5 weeks. I don't need to water this plant very often. It doesn't like to be watered often, so I like to make sure this one dries out pretty good. I'm not going to treat this one for fungus gnats because I just don't think it has it. But yeah, so I haven't watered this one for about 2.5 weeks. This is such an easy plant. It's super beautiful. This one's name... Oh, this plant also has some new growth coming in, which I'm pretty excited about. Just in the center there, it's growing some more leaves out. And also, this is my Thanksgiving cactus. I haven't watered her for a long time. She's very, you can tell she's not happy because she hasn't gotten water for a little bit, but she is doing really good. When I first got her, she did not stand at all. If you look inside of the pot, just because it's thirsty, so it's wilting over, but the parts that are sticking out of the soil, they are not they're not squishy anymore. They're hardened up. All these pieces on here, they're all hardening up throughout the whole plant. So it is getting better. The health of the plant is doing a lot better. It went through a really beautiful blooming season, but this plant, I do like to let it dry out a lot before I water it. This is also 2.5 weeks. I probably haven't watered this one. I would suggest maybe watering it every 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half, but I do let this one dry out a lot more. So it's been 2.5 weeks that I've watered this one, but this one is also low maintenance and it's low care. This one's name is Cherry because when it blossoms, it has beautiful red little blossoms all over. It's really beautiful, but this is my Thanksgiving cactus, so I'm excited to see this one bloom again in Thanksgiving. The next one is a plant that I actually feel like I don't know how to care for, and I need to start maybe watering this every 5 days. I need to pay attention to this plant a little bit more because it is a dream plant that I've wanted, but this is my bonsai. My bonsai doesn't have a name, but I got this recently, and I do think that I need to keep up a more consistent watering schedule. I feel like this baby needs to be watered maybe every 5 days, so I'm going to be checking this plant a lot more often than I am right now. So I do see that these are a little bit wilting over. So this is my bonsai. I wouldn't recommend this plant for somebody that's new to plant care. The rest of them, other than the first one that I showed you guys, I would recommend all of the rest of them to people that don't know much about plants, but this one I wouldn't recommend just because it's a little bit harder care. Last but very not least is my last plant. This is a philodendron Xanadu, I'm pretty sure. This plant is honestly not one of my favorite plants. I'm still trying to figure out what this plant needs, but I do think this plant needs a repot, so I'm a better pot for this because it's yellowing a lot of its leaves, it's dropping a lot of its leaves, and I'm not sure if it's just that it's winter time or not. It's pushing out a lot of small growth, so I do feel like it needs to be in a new pot, but this one is going to get watered today. I do think it's hydrophobic because the soil always stays wet feeling, but this one is going to get watered today. It's not one of my faves, but we're gonna do it. So let's go take all of these to the shop. Hi everyone! We're back with part 2 of my plant diaries. The first part you saw me talking about more of my plants that are on a different watering schedule. This time we're going to be talking about the other plants that are in my watering schedule. So all the plants behind me, I'm going to be talking about them today, and this is talking about their care requirements and everything like that. Start off with my favorite plant at the moment. I did have one favorite plant, but this one has become my new favorite plant, and I have been loving it so much. Oh my god, look at this beauty. There's a new leaf unfurling. It has blossomed. Like, if you look down in this middle part, these are all blossoms, and there's more coming up in here, and there's literally another growing right here. And on this side, this plant is just so extremely healthy. This is in a Silver Bay Aglaonema. And this plant, I have been keeping up with it, just keeping it a little bit more moist in the soil. It's not completely dried out, but I'm going to water this. So I water this plant every 7 to maybe 9 days. This one has gone exactly a week without water. Actually likes indirect light, and it has thrived. I've never had this one have its own grow light. It's always just sat in my room, and my room does not get good light at all. The growing season like crazy right now. Super easy to take care of, and super, super beautiful. And this one's name is Cosmo. Okay, so now let's talk about my aquatic plants and my small plants. So, in water. So these are my 2 aquatic plants. I'm going to talk a little bit about these. First, let's talk about this one. I've had this plant for almost a year. I think it just would do so much better in water. And like, as soon as I put it in water, it has grown so much. It dropped all of its dead leaves like it had before, and all of these leaves are new. Brand new. this leaf just came out a couple weeks ago, and now they have all of these other leaves like unraveling and coming out, and I'm so proud of this plant. I try to change the water every couple of days because when a plant lives in water, its oxygen gets from the water, so I like to replace it every couple of days and clean the jar. Today we're going to be doing both for this one, and I think I might even give it a new jar because it just doesn't look like this is the best one for it. But this is my peace lily. His name is Pegasus. Another my aquatic plant baby. This is my Monstera. This is from one of my plants that you guys are going to see in just a little bit. This plant honestly it's just needing some support, and it didn't ever have support before, so I've cut a lot of good cuttings off of it just to make room for new growth and just to chop it up, start some new plants. So I did start a new plant. This one does not have a name, but its roots are literally amazing, you guys. Like, they have grown so much. All those are roots. They grow in water so nicely, and this plant has been thriving. The fenestrations look amazing. The leaves look amazing. The whole plant just looks really good. So I'm really happy about this plant that's living. But this is Squirt. He is a parlor palm. He is very dry. I honestly don't know very much about this plant. I got it not too long ago. And my watering requirements, I've been watering it once a week with the rest of my plants that like to get watered more often. And it's been doing really well. So it's looks just fine. This plant is a slow grower, so I'm probably not going to see any big major progress for a while, but this plant is good, looking good. My second favorite plant that I have, this is Judas. He is a red imperial philodendron, and this is my favorite type of philodendron. I am not a fan of the climbing plants like my heartleaf philodendron. I love that plant, but it's just not my favorite. So I really like this philodendron. It's very different, and it's very big and girthy. I think I'm going to have to repot him very soon, though. As you can see, he's very right-sided to his, or one-sided to his pot. But this plant is amazing. I like to water this guy every week, once a week, and this guy does get his own grow light. I've always had him on his own grow light. It's just what's worked best for me. And he did just put out a new leaf recently. I'm going to show you guys which one that is. This is the new leaf. It is so strong and so beautiful. At first when it comes out, it's super weak, but now it's super freaking firm and beautiful. And this plant is just an amazing plant. It's super easy care. Loves, so I would say a little more light than indirect light with this one. If not, supplement with a grow light. Watering once a week, and his name is Judas. This is my imperial red philodendron. So beautiful. Last but not least, we're going to talk about my big peace lily, and then we'll talk about my monsteras. So here is my huge peace lily. So as you guys can see, there's a huge difference between this guy and this guy. Like, you can visibly see the difference. But this guy is also doing amazing. This plant is a plant that you will have to keep up more monitoring and more watering. I wait every 7 days, but this plant can even go every 5 days with water. I like to let it get a little bit dry. As you can tell, it's flooping a little bit, so it is dry. I just like to have it a little bit dried out, but it looks so good. And it's actually putting out new leaves right now, so I'm going to show you guys those new leaves. There is one opening up down here, and then there's two on this side that I can show you guys. Right here and right here are two new leaves that are unfurling, and this one right here and here. This plant is doing amazing. I would say indirect light. This plant sits in a corner where the light hits it. It can barely see the light, but at least we're going to talk about my monsteras because they are one of my favorite plants ever. So here is one. Let me grab my other one. Oh, so these are my monsteras. You guys can kind of see me. His name is Joy. I got Joy from, I work at a assisted living facility, so that means I work with old folks, and I got Joy from one of my residents, and she just was like, I have a plant. This was like when I was kind of first getting into plants. This was before I had like this whole jungle in my room. But she was like, yeah, I have a plant. It's just not doing as well as it could, and I don't want it anymore. And I was like, I will take it. So My other monstera, this is one of my favorite plants. It's just so beautiful. The fenestrations are just gorgeous. The leaves are huge. Oh my gosh, just look at that leaf. They're beautiful. I have to show you guys more because I know you want to see. Like, you're kidding. No longer without that. So I water my monsteras every 7 days. Every week I water them. And their light requirement, they both have their own lights. I just am a really big fan of grow lights, so but they just have been giving me really good results with my plants and their colors and their blossoming and their flowering. So they both have their own lights. This is Joy. This one doesn't have a name. But yeah, those are all of my other plants that you guys did not get to meet or see in my last part. So put them all into the bath and then give them a good shower, just like you guys saw me do before. So let's go. I also forgot to tell you guys about this plant, but I'm going to talk about it right now. This is my heartleaf philodendron. Oh my gosh, look how much growth it's had. When I first got it, it was not nearly this long, but it has gotten so long, and I think I need to get like a climbing pole for it so I like it a little bit more. I'm not gonna lie, but it's really beautiful. As you can see, these are gorgeous, really heart-shaped. This one I water every week with the rest of these plants, and this one sits in the window, so it gets indirect light all the time. So. And that's it, house.